My name is Samar Saab, and today I'm going to be talking about women in technology. So let's get started. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, or NCES for short, the number of female students awarded a STEM degree or certificate in the US has steadily risen over the most recent 8-year period. However, the number of male students awarded a STEM degree or certification in the US has also increased in that same period. Therefore, a gender gap still remains. Why do you think that is? Now, although things are improving, and I will be discussing that, the issue of this gender gap still exists, and it will continue to exist unless we keep talking about it and do things about it. As a female ISM student myself, ISM, Information Systems Management, it is very important that fellow ISM students as well as other business students are made aware of this issue, and together we can work to fix it. By the end of this presentation, I hope that I will have inspired you guys to consider a career in technology, mainly the women. On today's agenda, I will first go over a brief history of women in technology. I will then examine the diversity in technology. Here, I will be answering the big why question. And lastly, I will discuss the progress we've made thus far and the work we can do ahead. Now, before I get into the gender gap issue, I find it imperative that I demonstrate just how much women have contributed in the technology field. So, let's get started. Between the years 1938 and 1945, the Bletchley Park Code Crackers. Now, these women were an elite code cracking team that helped swing World War II in favor of the Allies. By cracking the codes, they were able to give Prime Minister Winston Churchill advanced knowledge of Germany's invasion plans. They auditioned for this team by solving the Times cryptic crossword at a mansion at Bletchley Park. Now, the Times cryptic crossword is insanely hard. You guys can do some separate research on that, but that's just scratching the surface. Fast forward to 1942, the ladies of the University of Pennsylvania's Moore School of Engineering. These ladies made calculations for tables of firing and bombing trajectories. They set up the electronic numerical integrator and computer accordingly. Mind you, this is not a computer like I'm using right now. This was the first ever general purpose computer. These ladies maneuvered 3,000 switches and 80 tons of hardware in order to program the ENAIC by hand. They determined the correct sequence of steps to complete the calculations for each problem they had to do. Fast forward to 1968, Jean E. Sammet. This woman was the first woman to be awarded a PhD in computer science in 1968. She was responsible for developing the first computer language while working at IBM. 1985, Radia Perlman, aka the mother of the internet. She invented the spanning tree protocol, which ensures a loop-free topology for any bridged Ethernet local area network, which is fundamental to the operation of network bridges. She also was heavily involved in teaching young children computer programming. Think about that for 2 seconds. Without this woman, the internet wouldn't even exist, and I wouldn't even be able to do this presentation that I'm doing right now. Now, these are some rising stars of today. Samantha John and Jocelyn Leavitt, these two amazing ladies, started a startup where kids programmed their own games and animations called Hopscotch. Heather Payne she founded Ladies Learning Code and HackerU, both with the goal to make learning code more accessible to women and young girls. Catherine Parsons founded the London-based tech startup Decoded, which aimed to increase digital literacy and teach people to code in one day. As of 2013, she already helped 2,000 people to code. Now, with all these amazing women in mind, I want you to remember the question we started with. Why? Although the future for women in technology is optimistic, why was there a gender gap to begin with? Well, one of the reasons is a confidence gap. Now, what do I mean by that? So, a 2016 study from Harvard's Women in Computer Science Advocacy Council found that women with up to 8 years of programming experience report the same level of confidence as men with 0 to 1 year of programming experience. Why do we think that is? Michelle Danoff, who graduated from Harvard in 2017 with a degree in computer science, was quoted to say further, women who do have past programming experience often still choose to take computer science 50 or any other intro class according to your university, while men with comparable experience choose to skip it, which plays into those confidence dynamics. Another issue is a lack of diversity. Shown here is an employee breakdown of key technology companies. And as you can see, it's pretty bad. On the left, you'll see a bunch of different technology companies, more famous ones like Intel, Microsoft, Dell, Google, and on the left represents the female employees, and on the right is male. And then on the far right, you'll see a bunch of different ethnicities. And I added a feature that can show how much they've added throughout the years, and it's not much, but we could do better. It's important to remember that diversity is good for business. Gender diverse companies are 15% more likely to outperform competition. Ethnically diverse companies are 35% more likely to outperform competition. Gender diverse business units and retail companies have 14% higher average comparable revenue than less diverse business units. And lastly, gender diverse hospitality companies show 19% higher average quarterly net profit. Ultimately, organizations with 30% female leaders could add up to 6 percentage points to net margin. Now, I'm sure if all the CEOs or people who are in charge of hiring of all these companies knew all these facts, they would be more careful in the hiring process, seeing how much this diversity could benefit their business. Now that I've shared exactly what's going on, I find it necessary to emphasize what is currently being done and what we can continue to do to ensure that this issue declines. So here's some progress made and some work we can do ahead. Now, many colleges recognize that the way their computer science programs were structured discouraged women from entering. This quote was said by Elizabeth Ames, who is the Senior Vice President of Marketing Alliances and Programs for the Anita Borg Institute. For example, entry-level courses often assumed that students had a background in programming already, and women in technology had little community on campus. The often named success story, which I will talk about right now, of changing this approach is found at Harvey Mudd College in Claremont, California, where the percentage of female computer science majors grew from less than 15% in 2006 to a whopping 55% in 2016. This was all largely thanks to the following initiatives. How do they do this? Well, number one, consider changing the intro course. Frame it in a way that students are more interested in. You could also separate the students based on ability and prior experience, because at the end of the day, everyone's got a fair shot to learn. For example, if a good chunk of the students have already taken AP Computer Science in high school, whereas another chunk of the students have zero prior experience to computer, this is all new to them. By separating them and giving different things, this could keep the flow of the course, while it won't be as intimidating for the students to have prior experience, because this way you don't just got to jump in the water. Another thing teachers can consider is altering the curriculum. This way you don't, because at the end of the day, you don't want to fall behind. This class, for example, is very fast-paced. So Maria Clow, who put in these initiatives, this is something she did to help. Another thing that will help increase the percentage of women continuing to take the course is to connect them to the wider community. The Harvey Mudd, the college, for example, takes 40 to 60 students each year to Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing. So that really made all the women see what they could be and really encourage them to continue. You could also encourage early internship programs. And another really important thing I like to stress is that I also would like to stress is don't force students to be a computer science or any other tech-related major, but rather encourage those who take the intro course and like it to continue. It's also very important to be more persistent in hiring female members and department chairs. Because when women see that if another woman can do it, as simple as it sounds, if they could do it, I could do it. What else can we do? We could all follow in Intel's footsteps. For instance, Intel announced that it closed the gender and racial pay gap for U.S. workers back in 2017. Mind you, This is very impressive because they reached this full representation of women and underrepresented minorities available in the U.S. skilled labor market in October of 2018, 2 years ahead of their 2020 goal. You must be asking yourself, just like me, how on earth did they do this? Number one, this is something that all businesses should follow if they want to close the gender gap, which they all should want to do. It's important to gain a high-level understanding of the state of gender equity at your organization, because within a good understanding of the solutions. If you don't know what's going on, how on earth do you expect to fix anything? You might not even know that there's a problem without asking your workers. It's also very important to compare pay for men and women. This goes for the employees and the employers. Measure performance ratings by gender. Measure promotions by gender, and also the nature of the promotion. It's important to take steps to current gender inequity, starting with the hiring processes. Okay, so what can I do, or what can you guys do? I like to talk about a couple of things you guys could do and to continue your passion technology. One thing is the Michigan Council of Women in Technology Foundation. So I do apologize for the men because this one is for women, but that's what my presentation is about. So the Michigan Council of Women Technology Foundation is an amazing resource that we all have that I really encourage you guys to do. I received an email about it for a scholarship, but I was just searching their website. There's volunteering, there's opportunities for careers, internships, and what I like about this is you don't have to, all you have to do is like sign up or visit them once. They won't say no to anybody. And they have a lot of resources and they'll help you find a career. Another thing you guys could do, and I plan to go to their meeting this Wednesday, is join the ITO, the Information Systems chapter at Wayne State. That's another thing you guys can do to continue your love for technology. And another little fact that I'm going to leave you guys here with today is that in 2019, from the top 15 cities for women in technology, believe it or not, Detroit is number 11. I know that's far down the list, but this is the top 15 cities in the entire US. The fact that we made it onto a list of 15 is amazing. So utilize where you're going to school, the city. If this is one of the top 15 cities for women technology, I'm sure we could all find a job and continue our love for technology. These are my references, and I want to thank you guys for listening.